You know how you sometimes get a weird feeling about someone? Well, my new neighbor set off every alarm bell in my head from day one. He moved into the apartment across the street and he was quiet. Too quiet, you'd never see him during the day. It was like the apartment was empty. But then night would fall, and every single night, like clockwork, it would start. I'd be washing dishes or watching TV and I'd see him. He'd pull his car up and drag these huge, heavy-looking black trash bags into his flat, one by one. And the second he was inside, every single curtain would be drawn shut. Total blackout, then came the noises. They weren't loud, just unsettling, muffled thuds like he was dragging heavy furniture around. Sometimes I thought I could hear whispering, but I could never make out the words. It was just this low, constant murmur that would go on for hours. It made my skin crawl. I'll admit I got a little obsessed. I started keeping a little notebook, jotting down the times he'd come and go, how many bags he brought in, what noises I heard. Part of me was terrified, but another part was just fascinated. What on earth was he doing in there? I had to know. After 2 weeks of this, my imagination was running wild. I finally worked up the nerve to call the police. I reported suspicious activity, trying my best not to sound like a crazy, paranoid neighbor. They actually came out and did a wellness check. I watched from my window as they knocked on his door. He answered, looking completely calm, almost bored. He let them in, and a few minutes later they left. They called me back and said everything was fine, he was just a bit of a recluse and there was nothing suspicious. I felt so stupid, but the feeling wouldn't go away. A few days later, my cat Patches disappeared. He was an indoor-outdoor cat, but he always came back for dinner. Not this time. I called for him all night. Nothing. And that night, the noises from the neighbor's apartment were louder. It sounded like something was being dragged. My blood ran cold. I started to connect dots that I really didn't want to connect. That was it, my breaking point. The police didn't believe me, so I needed proof. The next night, I saw him start to drag in another one of those black bags. My hands were shaking, but I grabbed my phone and zoomed in, ready to take a picture to finally have some evidence. I focused the lens right on his window, and my heart stopped. Through the camera, I saw it. His face, he was standing in his darkened window, staring directly back at me. Not at my window, but at me through the lens of my phone. He knew I was watching. I didn't sleep for a week. I kept my curtains shut. I jumped at every sound. Then one morning I looked out and his car was gone. A moving van was parked outside his building. Just like that, overnight, he had vanished. A few days later, I saw the landlord going into the apartment. Curiosity got the better of me, so I went over and asked if everything was okay. The landlord looked pale. He told me he'd found a locked room the guy had installed himself. When he finally got it open, it was completely empty, except for the walls. They were covered, floor to ceiling, in dozens and dozens of printed photos. Photos of all the neighbors. Photos of me working at my desk watching TV, eating dinner, all taken from that window across the street. I thought that was the end. I thought the nightmare was over. But a few days after that, I went to check my mail. There was a single plain white envelope with no return address. Inside was a photograph. It was a picture of me asleep in my own bed. The photo was taken from his old window, and at the bottom, written in shaky handwriting, were just 3 words: "See you soon."